Welcome back, casual cooks. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We're basically using a rotisserie chicken to make 4 meals today. It's the end of the year. You're probably tired of cooking, so here's a real quick way of making 4 easy meals from one rotisserie chicken. Rotisserie chickens can be found anywhere nowadays, any grocery store, Costco, etc. So I've gone to the store and just picked up a rotisserie chicken this morning, and we're going to make 4 meals out of one rotisserie chicken. However, some people don't know how to cut the rotisserie chicken. There's no right way or wrong way. It's not like it's Thanksgiving dinner. We're not getting ready to serve this on a platter. We're actually going to shred the chicken up today to put in the different recipes. So in case you've never cut one up, we're just going to cut through this twine that holds the legs together and goes underneath the bottom because nobody wants to eat the twine. And the chicken is just a small version of a turkey. So you have the two legs, you have the two breasts, you have the two wings, and then underneath there you'd have the thighs. So I'm just going to use my knife and come in here where one of the legs are. And you just try to find the bone that's in there. And you might need to give it a little snap, or once you see the bone, just bring the knife down until you hear that little crunch. But I'm looking for it right now. All right, here we have one chicken leg. Turn it over to the other side. I'm going to try and do this one more for the camera. But again, we find where the leg is. You kind of pull it across until we see that bone, and actually that one split without me even having to cut anything in there. So we're just going to cut that down. Second chicken leg. All right. Let's see. Let's go for the breasts. So on my side, right here is kind of the spine of the chicken. So we're just going to find where the inside of that backbone is and try to come down on just the side of it. There it is. And let me get in here from the other side. All right. There is one breast, and we're going to again come over to the other side of where that bone's going to be. And cut in from the bottom too. If you're not good with your knife skills, you may want to just rip it off. You could have just ripped all of these things off, but you want a nice sharp knife to be able to do this stuff. It doesn't have to be a chef's knife, which is what I'm using, but it could be a smaller knife as well. All right, so we've got some of that, and you'll see there's some residual chicken parts on there, which we're going to rip off as well. Down on the bottom, we're going to have the two wings right here, and then the thighs that are left. It's hard for me to try to get the thighs on this because it's roasted so well that it normally already starts falling apart. But let's first look at the wings. In fact, I can even see where it separates. So I'm just going to go in here and try to stretch it and cut it. And right there is one wing. Go over to the other side. Again, these things are so roasted that they basically fall apart in your hands. So there's not a whole lot of cutting that needs to happen. And here's the other wing. And all that's left is the dark thigh meat, which is my personal favorite. And you can leave skin on, or if you don't want skin, you can take that skin off. But for me, let's go in and just cut underneath. Again, you're looking for where that's going to separate from the bottom. There's a little bone on there still, but there is one thigh. And on this side, I think we already took a little of that thigh off because some of it has already disintegrated. So some of this has the backbone on it, but we're going to peel that meat apart. Right there's part of the thigh. Some of it already came off. As long as it gets off and we can use the chicken meat, that's all we're looking for. So here you go. You have your two legs, your two breasts, your two wings, one chicken thigh, and here is our other chicken thigh that kind of fell apart a little bit. And then there's still a lot of meat on the actual rotisserie chicken. So now you just go to town and rip it off with your hands. I've let this cool down a little bit. It does come really hot from the grocery store. Even when I had it home for about 5 minutes or so, I just took off the top and let it sit out so it could cool down. Our chicken is all cut up into our separate pieces. This is the extra meat that I was able to just tear off from the rest of it. You can go through and decide, are you a light meat person? Are you a dark meat person? But however you do it, you can use these individually. You can use them for a quick lunch. That's not the point of today. The point of today is to use some of these parts of chicken to make a few different quick meals. So today I have one of these chicken shredders. You can pick these up on Amazon, or you could just use forks to pull it apart. You could shred it with your hands. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I find this really easy. So as I said, I'm a dark meat person. So right down here, we have a lot of the thigh meat that kind of came undone. So I'm going to just chop that up myself. We don't need to put that into the shredder for now, but we'll put that over there, and you can cut it up to whatever size you like. Sometimes if it's too big, you cut it a little smaller. Again, here's some extra parts. You want to make sure that there's no bones in there, that you got all the bones out. It's up to you if you want to include the skin. Sometimes some of the skin is really good and nice and roasted. Some of it can be a little bit fatty. I don't like the fatty part, so I try to separate that out. But I'm just taking the meat off the bone of each piece. And again, I don't care whether it's dark meat or light meat. I'm just using the meat in any way I need today. All right, there doesn't seem to be any bones in the breast, so I'm just going to cut those down so they'll be able to fit in the chicken shredder. So the bones have been put away. Everything that's here is usable except for these wings. I haven't decided if I'm going to need those or not yet. So I'm going to take my chicken shredder, and this part is stuff that I've already taken off that's already small enough that we can use. But let's put some of this meat in to the chicken shredder. All right, so we've got it there. And the bottom of these normally have a non-stick bottom, so it pretty much holds itself right there. But we've got the chicken in there. We're just going to put it on the top and just keep turning it around, and it does all the work for us. These things are really easy to use. And there it is. You've got more shredded chicken. And we'll just keep doing the same thing for all of these large chicken chunks. Again, I am including some of the skin in here that I think is good skin, not the fatty skin. And we'll put it on there and start rocking away. Done. More shredded chicken. And these things are so easy to clean as well. So I'd recommend getting one of these. I'll put the link to one of these things in the description. So if you want to think about picking one up, look at the amount of chicken. One rotisserie chicken that we're going to be able to make 4 different meals from. So this will be our pile that will be our go-to. I'm going to put this in a bowl because I'm going to use some of this to prepare some other things. And then I'm just going to go through each recipe on how to make 4 different things. The first meal that we're going to make with the rotisserie chicken is basically a barbecue chicken pizza. So I picked up one of these Boboli thin crusts. It's a pre-done pizza dough, but you don't really have to cook it as far as the pre-cook. It's going to go in and be baked, but you could do this with a naan. You could do this with flatbread that you can get at the store already. I just picked a barbecue sauce of choice, Kinder's. Again, love my Kinder's stuff. Mozzarella cheese, anything that you want to find. Some onion if you like onion. Again, this is a template of what I like. You could do this with anything. I'm just using the chicken in this way. We're going to slice up some onion, and I love the taste of fresh cilantro. Not everybody does, so don't think this is something you have to do. And then we still have our chicken. All of this came from just the one rotisserie chicken that we cut up. I just like sliced onion on this, so I'm going to just make tiny slices. And I think that's really all we need. So you're maybe talking about a quarter of a cup, if that, of sliced onion. Cilantro, I'm going to just rip out a small bunch. You can see this is just pre-done pizza dough. You could eat this right now and be totally fine. It would be a cold pizza, but it would still taste fine. But I like mine hot. Plus, we need to melt the cheese and warm up the chicken. So we're just going to put that down. So here's the barbecue sauce. I'll open that up and just kind of put like you would if you were saucing a pizza. Want a little bit in every bite, but we want to be able to put some on the top. so it looks good and you can see what it is that you're eating. I always eat with my eyes first, so I want to be able to see the ingredients that are going to be on it. Then we have some shredded mozzarella. We have it all cheesed up. And let's add some of that shredded chicken. This is why I didn't care if it was dark or light meat, but if you did have a preference, you'd be able to use the meat you want. Now we'll put some of those onions on. And the cilantro we're not going to put on before it goes in the oven. Otherwise, it might end up kind of blackened and turn a little burnt. So we'll save that until afterwards. And I will also put on some of that barbecue sauce at the end as well, rather than right now. So you can see what that looks like. And we're going to put this on the oven. I think it said to put it on for about 450 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. And that should be ready in just a few, and we'll get this in. The oven has reached 450 degrees, so we're going to get this in. I'm going to put it on kind of a pizza tin so it doesn't fall through. Oven at 450, and we're going to leave that in there for about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'll set a timer and let you know what it ends up being. It's been 15 minutes, and let's see. The pizza looked done, so it took a little longer than the 10 minutes I thought. Woo, that is hot. 450 is what it was in for. Look at that. Nice and melted cheese. The chicken has a little brown on it, and the onions are roasted. So now is when we put a little bit of that cilantro on top. If you're not a cilantro fan, don't put the cilantro on top. And I'm going to add some more of that barbecue sauce right over the top. That looks great. Let's cut this up. Got a pizza cutter through here. Oh, look at that melted cheese. Throw a little more onions on there for my own preferences. All right, let's give this a try. Mmm. Mmm. That is great. No time at all. Cut up the chicken, put it on the pre-made, pre-cooked Boboli pizza shell, put it in the oven, add your choice of toppings. I chose chicken, red onion, mozzarella cheese, and some barbecue sauce. This is fantastic. This is just recipe 1 of 4 that we're going to be using this rotisserie chicken with. So we'll finish this one, I'll clean up, and then I'll get ready for the next one. For our second meal, using the same rotisserie shredded chicken, I'm just making a fettuccine Alfredo without the fettuccine. I'm just going to call it Alfredo pasta because I like penne pasta better. So I'm using penne pasta, but you could use any noodle of your choice. I'm going to have a little bit of parsley, but that's really just for garnish. You can buy your own store-bought Alfredo sauce, or maybe if you like some other sauce. And then chicken, of course, is where we're getting the protein. So I'm going to get my pot of water boiling. I'm going to take care of my noodles. And then it's really a quick, short thing to bring it all together and give it the bite. Over here, I have the pasta done and drained. Over here, I have the Alfredo sauce. And then we have our toppings that we're going to put on over there. So first, let me take this off and the sauce. And then right here is our Alfredo sauce. So I am just going to pour the Alfredo sauce into our penne pasta noodles. I'm going to add some of the chicken that we've had over here. And it's been sitting for a little bit, so it's not completely warm, but this is going to warm it right back up by having it in there with those noodles and with that hot sauce. Stir that all around. Again, you can use your choice of whatever pasta you want. I just like penne myself. Oh, it smells garlicky. I got the garlicky Alfredo, and I'm telling you, it smells like a nice Italian restaurant. And I'm going to bring it over and plate it into our bowl. So we'll just put it right in there. All right, so here's our pasta. The chicken is in there, but some of the chicken has been covered up by the Alfredo sauce. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that chicken right on top so everybody can see what the protein is. And then I like putting a little bit of parsley on mine. It's really more for looks. You don't have to do this, but it just adds a little bit of color to the plate. I also like a little salt and pepper on mine. I'm going to add a nice pinch of salt and a nice pinch of pepper over the top. And just to make it the way I like it, but again, you don't have to, is I have some pecorino, but you could also use some Parmesan cheese and just freshly grate that right over the top. Sometimes you just can't get enough cheese. All right. And here is the finished product. Let's take a taste and see how this turned out. Want to be sure we get a little bite of everything. So I've got some chicken. I've got some of that pasta. No joke. The money I'm saving doing this as opposed to going out is insane. And this is just rotisserie chicken, a box of noodles, and some jarred sauce. I know it's not really cooking. We're really just assembling, but this is for a lazy end of the year wrap up time, not wanting to cook. And this tastes fantastic. Give it a try, but this is only recipe number 2. We still have 2 more. For our last 2 recipes, we can almost do them together. The first 2 just happen to be kind of Italian themed with pizza and Alfredo pasta, but we're finishing with 2 more things. One of them is more of a Mexican style Tex-Mex bowl, and the last one would be a shredded chicken quesadilla. So here's all the ingredients that I would need to do both of those things. And we'll start with the bowl first. So let's move some of these out of the way. I don't need the tortillas for that, but here's going to be our bowl. For the bowl, it's really whatever you want in it that you can make. But the minimum is we got to be using some of this chicken. So first thing, if you've ever seen these are minute rice. I'm a guy that goes to Chipotle a lot. I really like Chipotle. So this is kind of like what I get, which would be a normal bowl, whether it's chicken or pork or beef, but we'll just use the chicken today. So I went to the store. They make different types of rice, Spanish rice, Mexican rice. I just got cilantro lime, but it's the easy kind that just goes into the microwave. These are not meant to be start from scratch, home cooked meals. These are supposed to be easy, end of the year, just want to get it done. So I have essentially a 90-second rice that I'm going to throw in to the microwave. And while that's warming up, we still have the chicken. You can eat hot or cold. For mine, I'm going to do corn and black beans, a little lime, a little avocado, a little cilantro, a little cheese, a little hot sauce, and a little bit of sour cream. So the rice is in there cooking away. I'm going to open up the 2 different things of canned beans and canned corn. I just like mine rinsed. I don't like a lot of the extra sauce stuff that's in there. All right, since I'm only going to eat 1 small bowl, I don't want a whole can of corn and a whole can of beans. So I'm just going to pour what I think I'm going to want. So maybe 1/4 of a can of some of the beans and a 1/4 of a can of some of the corn. And I'm just going to rinse those off. And I will leave those there. The rice is done. And here's how quick it comes together. So I'm going to put a little bit of the rice at the bottom. You can see the rice is steaming. My chicken isn't hot. I didn't put it in the microwave, but I'm going to cover it up with some of that rice. I'm going to cover up the rice with that chicken. I'm going to add in some of that corn and beans. So I'm going to put a little cheese in mine. And if you like melted cheese, put it back in the microwave for a little bit. I'm going to add some sour cream. And some hot sauce. I'm going to cut up the avocado first. And because the avocados can sometimes turn brown, putting them with citrus allows it to stay a little greener and fresher longer while I'm eating it. And we got a pretty good avocado, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and spoon out this avocado. And slide that on. Now, I'm going to squeeze some of that lime all over, but specifically on the avocado. We've kept a little of that cilantro since the beginning, so I'm going to use a little bit of that cilantro over the top. Again, this does not have to be cilantro. You can make whatever you want on this. You can use your own type of meat. You can add other things. If you like a different type of rice, you could add that. If you like it spicy, you could certainly add some hotter sauce. But it's just a quick and easy bowl. And you can see it took maybe a minute and a half to make this. So easy. Let's see how this tastes. I'm going to take out my fork. Because it's had the different layers of things, I'm going to give it a little mix around so I can get a little of everything in each bite. That's the way I like to eat mine. How much money did we end up saving by just doing this from one chicken with a few ingredients that we probably already had in the pantry? And if not, you can buy for way cheaper. I want to be sure I get a bite of everything. Honestly, this really tastes equal or better than Chipotle for me. I'm getting way more meat than they would have normally put in here. Even though the rice was a little bit of a cheat in the microwave, it tastes just as flavorful as their rice. And I'm getting all of the fresh ingredients that I want. I can control the salt levels by draining the different things like the corn and the beans. If you look at the bite, we've got chicken in there. We've got the rice. I can see the cheese, the corn, the beans, everything. Sour cream, salsa. And the creaminess of the avocado. Good night. So that is 3 out of the 4 different things we're making with this rotisserie chicken. We have one left, and it's going to be the easiest for last, which is a chicken shredded quesadilla. The last recipe that we're doing today is a shredded chicken quesadilla, and that just doesn't get any easier than this. I'm making my quesadilla with just cheese and chicken, but I'm going to put the sour cream and the salsa on last. I like to make a bowl of that and then kind of dip it, but make it however you want. So it can't get any easier. I'm just going to use 2 tortillas. Let's put down some of that yummy cheese. These are all quick and easy recipes that take little to no effort, all using that same rotisserie chicken that we got for so cheap. And you're going to see at the end the amount of food that we've made, and I've eaten it along the way, and there's still tons left over. Look at all this chicken we still have left. That's a ton of chicken. We're going to have stuff left over. I don't need all this chicken just for this quesadilla, but we'll sprinkle it over with what I'm looking for that protein that I want. On your quesadilla, you could do whatever you want. You could put onions in there. You could put some bell peppers in there. Make your quesadilla however you choose. We're just using the chicken as the protein we're going with today. Perfect. I'm going to kind of push it down so it kind of becomes a glue, because once I put it on the stove and I want to flip it, I don't want it coming apart on me. So we're going to make its top half there. And we're going to get this going over on the stove. So I'm just going to heat up a pan. And I'm going to put it on maybe a medium. Let me get a little bit of butter in there so it has somewhere to go. I just like it because it gives a little bit extra to a flavor of that char taste. And we'll move this over. And I'm going to kind of set it in place. Again, I'm on a medium cook, and it's probably going to take maybe a minute to 2 minutes aside. It's pretty thick, so I want to be able to go through both sides. So this will be quick and easy. Flip it, and then we're ready to taste. All right, now we're coming to flip time, and I don't know if there's necessarily a good way to flip these things without everything from your insides falling out. I'm going to try it with a big spatula. So here we go. One, two, three, flip. Oh yeah, that worked for me. So you can see a lot of that color on there. And it's probably only going to need another maybe minute, maybe another minute and a half, and we'll get this thing done. And this is done on both sides. So I'm going to turn the heat off and bring it on over and slide it onto our cutting board. I like a sauce to go with it. So for my sauce, I normally just do a combination of sour cream and salsa. So I'm going to squirt in a little bit of that sour cream. Perfect. I have a little bit more of the salsa left, but I'm going to add a little El Tapatio. Again, this is just whatever you have in the pantry that you want to use and make it however you like best. So I'm going to put that in there to spice it up a little bit. You could put some taco seasoning on the chicken. You could have put some taco seasoning in the sauce as well. And I'm just going to stir that up. It just gives me a little dipping sauce. You could even put it over the top. You could get some guacamole and put some guacamole over the top. And you can just buy that at the store. You don't even have to make guacamole if you want to be really easy about it. I'm going to make my cut like I did with my pizzas. Perfect. Quesadilla. Done. Simple, easy. And in a minute, I'm going to show you everything that we made today, but I have to have a bite of this to start with as well. So let's go for the bite of our last recipe. You can see that quesadilla. In fact, I'm going to bring it in here so you can see it even better. Look at the layers, the cheese, the shredded chicken. Nice and crispy. You can see how it's holding up. Both sides are browned. I'm going to dip it in some of that sour cream and salsa. I don't know if you can hear the crunch, but this is actually a crunchy tortilla. Such an easy, quick meal, little snack. Didn't have to waste time in the kitchen. Doesn't require a lot of effort and resources. You could even microwave your quesadilla if you wanted it faster without even turning on a stove. This was such a great, easy way today to use this chicken. Look at all of the meals that we made today from one rotisserie chicken. And look how much chicken I still have left. You could still make a whole lot of things with this. And maybe I'll do a second episode showing even more things that you can make with the chicken, because you could do other things as well. Chicken fried rice, chicken noodle soup. You could make a chicken burger as far as like a barbecue chicken sandwich. There are so many opportunities, and it's just so cheap. So a reminder, it was an easy day today. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We made 4 different meals out of one rotisserie chicken. We have our barbecue chicken pizza. We have our Alfredo pasta with chicken. We have our Tex-Mex or Mexican chicken bowl. And then we have our shredded chicken quesadilla with dipping sauce. I hope you found this episode to your liking. I hope you use some of these recipes because it's the end of the year and we're tired. And next year, we're going to be back with all new videos. If you haven't already, I hope you please subscribe to the channel. It gives us so much more exposure when you like and make comments on these. I really like bringing you guys cool new food ideas and things that are just really easy, turning up the flavor but turning down the stress. So please add the channel, give it a like, share the channel with your friends. Have a great holiday season and a happy new year. And until I see you next, keep it casual.